Welcome back. The FIFA World Cup has kicked off, but a cloud of controversy is hanging over the Qatar event. Bribery, human rights concerns, and now a ban on beer, heaven forbid, all threatening to derail one of the world's biggest sporting events.
Right, let's get today's take on this in 9 Honey's Shelley Horton and journalist John Mango. Shell, this is supposed to shine a positive spotlight on the Middle East to bring in tourism. It feels like it's doing the complete opposite.
I know, but I'm kind of pleased about that. I think when we're talking about soccer, or football as they say, as the most popular sport in the world, we have actually been shining a light on Qatar's absolute shameful human rights record. So I kind of have a little bit of a pleased feeling that we're not just brushing it aside, like I think FIFA was hoping that we would, but people are protesting, people are running stories about what's going on in Qatar and basically educating the world, which may not have happened. So I'm kind of pleased about it.
Well, the opening ceremony has set the scene for what is to come here, a very controversial World Cup. What do you make of it all, John?
Well, look, to me, FIFA for many years now has been nothing short of a corrupt organisation. Now, you may recall that Australia competed to hold these games.
Right.
Qatar got it because it's super wealthy. Don't tell me there weren't payments under the table, because you go to a country that's stinking hot, you go to a country that's got disgraceful human rights records, and now they've got a host of the opening ceremony who's been accused of crimes against women.
Yeah.
And it's all because FIFA went for the cash. Simple as that. Instead of looking at the landscape and going, what's the best country? They deserve FIFA deserves all of the negativity it gets.
I can't imagine the sponsors are happy right now. Budweiser paid like $75 million for this, and then they got told 48 hours out that there's no beer to be sold. And I think non-alcoholic beer is like $20, Shelley, to have a non-alcoholic beer. And people are leaving the place in droves. They're watching matches, and then they're just deserting the place halfway through the match. It looks bad.
What did they think would happen?
Bad.
Yeah.
What did they think would happen when you go to a place like that? Come on.
I don't know, it feels like they're in another world. Look, also making news this morning, we wanted to get onto this one, and that's vapes. We've talked about it a lot, but this time experts are calling for new packaging rules to be brought in line with cigarettes. Shelley, when I first read this sort of plain packaging, I thought they were going to take away all the flavours, which I also think is a good idea, but will this solve the issue of vaping? My kids asked me about vaping the other day, and they're 8.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Because I think the sweet flavouring in the vapes are targeted at kids that age, because it's kind of like lollies. I am an ex-smoker, so 20 years of smoking, something that I deeply regret. I haven't smoked now for 7 or 8 years, so I'm definitely through it. But even when I tried vaping, I would say that it was highly addictive, because you had the sweet taste, you had a different mouthfeel when you were doing it. So as far as I'm concerned, I think the government needs to cut down and crack onto it right away. So yes to the plain packaging, yes to the warnings, yes to increasing the price. And Dave, I'm with you. I think we need to actually ban all the sweet flavourings. You need to be just taking in the straight nicotine to realise how awful it tastes.
Yeah, you know, hospitals in Victoria have reported a surge in young children exposed to potentially toxic vapes, and the vape companies, many of which are owned by big tobacco, essentially,
what does that say?
are targeting children with their marketing.
So I'm going to go even tougher than Shelley and say, forget the plain packaging and trying to disguise the product. Just get rid of the product, ban the product. I understand that some doctors like the idea of it, to try and get people off
cigarettes.
So a controlled medical usage through your doctor, absolutely, but buying over the counter, no way. I mean, even my kids, who are the same age as yours, said to me the other day when we had a conversation about vaping, they said to me, Dad, the vapes are full of toxic chemicals from China. Now, how did they know that?
Well, it's not just over the counter, you know, it's accessing this through dealers, essentially.
Correct.
You know, where it's underground and you don't know exactly what is being dished out.
And what we really need to remember is what you just said. This vaping industry is being supported by big tobacco. It suits them and it's wrong. So we should ban the product, not just disguise the packaging.
Interesting. All right, Shelley and John, stay with us when we come back. Why you won't see Donald Trump back on Twitter anytime soon, despite his ban being overturned. We weigh in on that next. Welcome back. One of the world's most infamous serial tweeters has shown no interest in returning to the platform despite his ban being lifted. Elon Musk confirmed he would reinstate former US President Donald Trump's account after putting the decision to a controversial vote.
Shelley and John are with us to discuss this. John, Trump has hit back at Twitter, saying it had problems compared to his own platform, which is called Truth Social, which is not really setting the town alight.
No.
So is he never going to return to Twitter?
Look, there's two schools of thoughts here. One is good riddance, and who wants him back anyway? But my mind is open to the idea of I'd like him to come back because at least then we know what the lunatic is thinking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Shelley's saying but if he's
Just does he say what he really thinks?
But he sort of telegraphs what his intentions are.
Sure.
Whereas if he's off the platform, he's out of the tent, you don't know what he's up to. At least if we can gauge the lunatic's thoughts, we can...
I get it.
All I hear is Shelley grunting.
I know. Shelley, what do you think?
I just don't want him back. I mean, we saw him incite riots. We saw his, this is phenomenally bad. I want him to be off Twitter. I think it's dangerous. I think Twitter is a cesspit of hate anyway. And, Trump is the king of hate. But I just don't think we need to give him that platform, that voice. So, John, I disagree because he's still getting news coverage. That's enough. And I'm loving the fact that Trump, the Murdoch press are saying Florida man runs for president, that sort of thing, because I just think the less we give him a voice, the better it is.
But Shelley, as a fellow journalist, you'd be against censorship, and so what you're advocating is a form of censorship, so you've got to think of it through that lens as well.
I also am against someone completely campaigning on hate and dividing the entire world. Like, I think that there has to come a point where we go, he was banned for a reason, and the fact that Elon Musk has now brought him back, it was like 48, 49, like it was so close.
But it was a Twitter poll, and that's the thing that I wanted to touch on.
And that's Twitter.
And this is a place that's run by bots, especially those right-wing accounts that follow Trump and Elon Musk. It's just a lot of bots. So is this poll even a legitimate... Well, it's not legitimate.
Well, it's not. Of course
it's not.
It's not even a real...
Let me rephrase the question. How long do we give Twitter? Like, do we put a countdown clock on it? Is it end of days?
I think it's definitely
end of days for Twitter?
It's right alongside the lettuce at the moment, just as we did with the former British Prime Minister.
Right.
So we'll see what's going to last longer, Twitter or the lettuce.
The problem with that is, and I hear what you're saying, and I agree that for a majority, Twitter is a cesspit if you can go down that route. But there have been a lot of voices that it does amplify that are really positive, LGBT, people of colour, Indigenous communities. They would not have a voice in mainstream media if Twitter didn't allow them to have that. And this sort of destruction by Musk to do that and his leaning to the right to try and tilt the scales is going to silence a lot of those voices too. And that makes me a bit conflicted about it just collapsing and being a bigger bonfire than it already is.
I completely understand that, but I also think there are other platforms. I don't know if Twitter is the one that we want to be keeping alive. I think encourage them to go to other platforms. They've got a voice. They can use it elsewhere. But Twitter, like I've had
just building up that
death
following
threats
again.
and all of that sort of thing. That's always been on Twitter. So I just don't have any fondness for the platform at all.
We'll see you on Mastodon, Shelley. Apparently that's where all the kids are going. I don't know what that even is.
I think I'm happy to cut a platform out, actually.
I think so too. I'm done when it's done.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jen. Good to see you.
Great to get your thoughts. We'll see you next week. Coming up on Today Extra.